This is your Olympic hero and former WWE champion, Kurt Angle. And I just wanted to give a shout out to my guys, Clint and Noah. When it comes to covering sports, there is no one better. And believe me, that's true. It's damn true.
Get stealing, woo, wheeling, dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun.
Gentlemen, you are the top 1%, the elite, best of the best.
The best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
You are now listening to the Elite Sports Podcast, the pinnacle of hard-hitting sports talk, featuring weekly expert analysis and top-notch interviews. And now, please welcome your hosts, Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groninger.
Welcome back once again to the Elite Sports Podcast. Clint Schweitzer alongside Noah Groninger. And you might as well rename this podcast the NFL Legends Tour, because we are off and running into the spring and summer months right here on the Elite Sports Podcast. And we have a bevy, a myriad, a virtual cornucopia of tremendous interviews coming up on this podcast over the next several weeks. Noah, I'm excited to delve into this, and today we're going to be doing it with legendary NFL coach Wade Phillips is going to be joining us, and I am fired up, my friend.
I am as well. I remember him with the Broncos. They're kind of in the early 90s, 93, 94. He was the head coach there. He was defensive coordinator before that, taking on Joe Montana, Jerry Rice in the Super Bowl. It didn't go so well, 55-10 Niners in 1989. But he's got this book out, Son of Bum, Lessons My Dad Taught Me About Football and Life. And, of course, he's talking about the great Bum Phillips, the head coach of the Oilers, and then moved on to the Saints. And he coached with him in the NFL for 10 seasons. He learned so much from him, like the title of his book says, about football and life. He credits him with pretty much everything he knows about the game of football and growing up, and just being able to be his defensive line coach and defensive coordinator with the Oilers and Saints, respectively. He just learned so much, and coaching great players like Reggie White, Bruce Smith, Clyde Simmons. I mean, there's just so many. J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald of recent years, and Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware when the Broncos won the Super Bowl, when he went back there in 2015. So there's so much here. He's been around just so many years in the NFL. He is a staple of the NFL, a legend of the NFL. He's pretty much seen them all.
He sure has, and he's just finishing up a 2-year stint with the LA Rams, where he was the defensive coordinator there in 18 and 19. Of course, they get to the Super Bowl in 2018 and lose 13-3 to the New England Patriots. But, I mean, that defense allowed, in all the 9 Patriot Super Bowl appearances, the lowest offensive output of any of those Super Bowls. And obviously, if the Rams had any semblance of an offensive game plan or execution, they would have won that Super Bowl. A lot of people, wanted to see Chiefs-Rams or certainly Chiefs-Saints in that Super Bowl. Of course, the controversial finish to the Rams-Saints NFC Championship game, which led to the controversial pass interference rule. And now he's out there looking for a job. Wade is 72. He's been around. He's been the head coach of 6 NFL franchises, if you include his interim runs in Houston, in Atlanta, and in New Orleans. And, of course, he was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys for 3.5 seasons. We're going to get into all that and much more with him. I mean, you talk about just a coaching legend, someone that's been around this game, coached some of the greatest players in NFL history, and coached against certainly many of them as well. This is a real treat, and I can't wait to get into this. For 44 years, he has been involved in the NFL in some fashion or another, and I can't wait to get into him about his father, Bum, the book, Son of Bum. This is going to be a real treat. The fact that he's a native Texan and he's coached for the Oilers, Texans, and Cowboys, there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack here, and I can't wait to get into it with him about Patrick Mahomes, some of the quarterbacks he's gone up against, and what that game was like back in November of 2018, 54-51. Rams beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, a game we will not soon forget. And I know there's another game, a Monday Night Football game, that you're going to want to get into it with him as well. So look out. He could get a little testy over that one, because that was a Chiefs victory back in 94.
It was October 17th, 1994, Montana versus Elway, Monday Night Football. Marty Schottenheimer, Joe Montana come in 0-10 combined into there at Mile High. They get the win late in that game, so I've got to ask him about that. And then he coached against Marty Schottenheimer there, but then he coached with him. In 2004, he joins the Chargers as Marty's defensive coordinator. And so I got to ask just about coaching against Marty and then coaching with him. Like you said, there's so much here. The Music City Miracle when he was head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Doug Flutie played 15 games that season, and Rob Johnson's healthy at the end of the year, and he goes back to him in the playoff game. A lot of people question that. They want to talk bad about that. But Rob Johnson had the game won, 16 seconds left, and then the Music City Miracle happens. And we're going to ask him, was that a forward pass or not?
You know what? He's just such a laid-back, fun guy. I think this is going to be a really good one. And, guys, we've got some tremendous interviews coming up. We've got interviews with former Chiefs coach Dick Vermeil, former Chiefs general manager Carl Peterson. That's going to be coming up here on the Elite Sports Podcast. In addition to that, our good friend Joe Theismann is going to be joining us in the coming weeks to talk about a new book he's written and The Best That Never Was, the subject of the ESPN 30 for 30 of the same title that came out several years back. Marcus Dupree is going to be joining us to talk about what he's been up to lately. Noah, you're going to be shocked to find in the interim, in a time since the documentary was released, The Best That Never Was, he's been a pro wrestler and now has a line of cannabis that we're going to be talking about. I can't wait to do it. We got so much coming up. Ike Taylor, former Pittsburgh Steeler, former NFL Network analyst. This is all coming up here on the show. Offensive line coach extraordinaire Jim McNally also. So I've got so many that they're stockpiling and they're just building up on us. And I'll tell you what, if there's one positive from the last couple months during these crazy times, like the fact that we've been able to connect with so many wonderful former players, coaches, personalities in sports, and specifically in the football realm, has been a real treat and a real honor. You think back to some of our interviews in the last few weeks with Tamba Hali, Jared Allen. It's been an unbelievable honor to be able to do this, man.
It absolutely has, and it will continue on. You mentioned the laundry list of names we have coming up, and it kind of gets my brain just going discombobulated and frazzled to think about all that. But I just got to focus one at a time, and today it's Wade Phillips.
Indeed it is. We want to go ahead and take you to that interview now. If you guys want to check out the video of this, we recorded it on Zoom, and it is available on our website, gasnsports.com. You can check out and see all of our shiny faces as we recorded this live just a few days ago. But without further ado, we want to go ahead and welcome to the podcast legendary NFL coach Wade Phillips. Coach, welcome to the show. How's everything going, man?
That's going okay.
Yeah, considering.
Day, right?
Yeah, we talked about it. It has definitely been Groundhog's Day. And here we are. We're a couple months removed, from the season ending. The Chiefs, of course, win Super Bowl 54. We're here in Kansas City, so we're still riding a little high from that. At least we have that. We have a little hardware here in Kansas City, finally, Coach, after 50 years.
Oh, no, it's great. Yeah, I was so happy for Andy and the whole group. They got a great coaching staff and obviously a great team. A lot of players. That Mahomes is really special, along with a lot of other guys they have too. So and I text Andy after the game and congratulate him because he's a great coach, and everybody knew it for a long time. But sometimes you're not certified or verified until you win a Super Bowl, and he's done that. So he showed him what kind of coach he is.
Yeah, it was truly incredible. And, of course, we're a couple of months removed from your stint ending with the LA Rams after 2 years. Take us kind of through that. Where are you as far as professionally? Where are you kind of wanting to go from here? 2 years with the Rams. You go to the Super Bowl in 2018 and hold the Patriots to their lowest offensive output since in their 9 Super Bowl appearances. Where do you see things going from here for you, Coach?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'm in forcible retirement right now, so I'd like to coach some. I think I could help somewhere. In fact, I know I could. So that's where I am right now. If somebody wants to, I definitely qualify as a senior assistant. So I got the senior part down anyway.
Yeah, you'd be a great addition to any staff, but you have coached with and against a vast majority of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of this game. And not to take anything away from all those greats, but have you ever seen anything quite like Patrick Mahomes and what he was able to do against your Rams in that crazy Monday Night Football game in 2018?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we won the game, which
yeah,
was certainly an exciting game for all these offensive people. Although we did have 2 touchdowns on defense, and
yep.
I think we sacked him 5 times and hit him a whole bunch. So, but we actually played good on defense and gave up 51 points. So, yeah, that just tells you how good he is. And I mean, you could tell he was something special, and he proved it.
Yeah, and still so much room to grow. We'll see where things go for him. But I want to talk about your book, Coach, Son of Bum. It came out back in 2017. It's so wonderful to see this output and to talk about your father, the legendary Bum Phillips. Just kind of take us back to that and kind of why you wanted to write that book, and tell us a little bit kind of about your dad and what kind of a person he was and influence on you in your coaching career.
Yeah, obviously he was a big influence. He coached me in high school. He coached me in college. I coached for him for 10 years, and he was my dad, and he's my hero. So all of that, and I really, he was a really character, I guess, and I wanted people to remember that, and so I wanted to honor him by writing the book, and I wanted my grandkids and his great grandkids and so forth to kind of know about him. And you just won't see another coach on the sideline in the NFL with a cowboy hat and cowboy boots on, that's for sure. Unless they got a swoosh on the side of it, I guess, maybe. But, it's so corporate now. Mm-hmm. We lost that individuality I think we had on the sideline with the Landrys and Bum Phillips and those kind of guys. So I just wanted people to remember him, and he taught me everything about football, obviously, and life. So there's some good lessons in there. People that don't have anything to do, like most of us, you want to get in on the NFL a little bit. Well, I've got I got a book about the NFL and about my dad.
Yeah, definitely check that out on Amazon. You can get it on an audiobook. You can get the physical copy. It's all there. One quote that I've got to ask you about, which I love this quote that your dad kind of taught you and kind of explained it a little bit. And the quote is simply, "Coaching ain't bitching." What does that mean?
Well, that's right. It's not griping about everything. It's, you hear so many coaches, griping at a kid or a player or whatever. And they better look at themselves first, because you're the one teaching them to do those things. So it reflects back on what kind of teacher you are, that they're making mistakes or whatever. And it doesn't help to gripe about it. What you need to do is teach them how to do it in the first place, rather than griping about them afterwards, and that's so many, I say coaches, but, I just see those little league guys that aren't really coaches that, they think coaches holler at people all the time and get them to play, and that's not necessarily true. They teach them the things that they need to get done to get better, and that's what coaching is.
Yeah, and from 76 to 85, you got your first NFL coaching experience in Houston alongside your dad, the great Bum Phillips. So what was your first taste of the NFL like, and then your first time as a head coach, albeit interim, with the Saints after your dad coached the first 12 games of the 1985 season?
Yeah, it was great coaching with my dad, number one, so, and I was really coaching with him, you coached with him and not just for him, Now, I coached for him because I wanted him to do well, like the players. But it was a wonderful experience. I learned a whole lot. We were the first team in the NFL to run the 3-4 defense full time, so he brought some things to the game that, technically the 2 technique, 3 technique, and all that people talk about. Well, he brought that to the game. He invented that, and so it's still around today, and it's common throughout the league, throughout football, college, high school, and so forth. So he brought a lot to the game, technically, and it was just fun coaching with him. I mean, we had a good time. We really did, and he never lost perspective that it was a game. We want to win. We want to do everything we can to win, but it's still a game.
Well, Coach, I want to talk about in 1999, you joined the Denver Broncos as a defensive coordinator, of course, and you actually get to the Super Bowl that year where you take on perhaps the most potent offense that we've ever seen in the 1989 49ers. Take us through facing that team and kind of what that was like for you, being the coordinator of that great Broncos team that gets to the Super Bowl. You know, John Elway had all those moments getting there, and it seems like this was around the era where it was you just couldn't get over the hump and win the Super Bowl, and you go up against this great team and the Niners. Just take us kind of through that.
Yeah. I was with Buddy Ryan with Philadelphia, and we won that division, and for the first time that since Vermeil had been there. So I got hired. I was the defensive coordinator, and I got hired at the Broncos by Dan Reeves. And our first year, we led the NFL in least points given up, and then we gave it the most points ever in the Super Bowl to Montana and that group. But I learned a lot from that. Actually, it helped. I think it helped win the Super Bowl when I came back with the Broncos the next time, because it was my first time being in the Super Bowl, and I didn't realize. I mean, I knew every game was a big game, but that was so much bigger than any game that. For instance, in the ball game, the first time we had the ball on offense, I remember on the sideline, and John threw a pass, and he threw it short and kind of in the ground. I mean, I don't know if the guy was open or not, but it wasn't a good throw, and there was a tremendous letdown. I could tell. Oh my God, it was just so low, and I realized that game, it got so low or so high, more so than any game I'd ever been in. So the next time I went to the Super Bowl, I told the guys, the Broncos, our guys, I said, hey, this is different. It's going to be lower. It's going to be higher. So we need to try to keep an even keel on what happens. And I don't know if it helped or not, but we played pretty good in that game.
Yeah, he sure did. That's good advice. But in 1993, you take over as head coach of the Denver Broncos for 2 seasons. And I want to ask you about a very specific game during your tenure there. October 17th, 1994, Montana versus Elway, Monday Night Football. Marty Schottenheimer and Joe Montana come in at 0-10 at Mile High before that night. I'll never forget John Elway runs a quarterback draw. You guys go up 28-24 late in the game. You guys the refs are talking about how you had 10 men on the field. You're over there saying, no, we had 7 on the line of scrimmage. It's legal. Marty's calling for an illegal formation. It was legal. Just take us through that just electric night inside Mile High and your memories of that game.
Yeah, you're going to bring up that one, huh?
We remember that one.
How about the Broncos? How about when we were at the Broncos in 2015 in Kansas City, and they had the game won, and they ran the ball, and we picked up a fumble and ran for a touchdown.
No, I don't remember that.
Charles fumbled that.
Oh yeah, okay.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, actually, we did. We had the guy double covered. We had a double coverage when Montana threw the touchdown to win the game. We doubled the receiver, and they still caught it. So it was one of those games. I've been in a lot of great games. That was a great game too, but it just turned out the other way. And it can when you got a guy like Montana at quarterback. And although John Elway won a lot of games too.
Yeah, but Elway did that enough to us, so it was good to do it to him at least once.
There you go.
Yeah, Coach, of being the defensive coordinator and being a head coach, you were the head coach, including interim, for 6 different NFL franchises, which is unprecedented. I mean, what kind of drove you? I mean, did you have a preference? I mean, a lot of people say that like they're just more comfortable being coordinators, but you kept popping up. You come on to coach the Bills. You were the interim coach for the Falcons at one point. Did you have a preference either way? I mean, did you like leading the franchises, or did you like being able to dial in on the defensive side?
Well, I mean, I think I was best at being a defensive coordinator, but the interim jobs I was there, and they let the head coach go, or the head coach retired in my dad's case. And so, basically to help the team, or at least try to keep the team going, I was the one that they picked to finish the season. And I mean, I don't know that anybody's ever been 6 times a head coach in the NFL. And certainly nobody's been fired 6 times as a head coach in the NFL. So I got a couple records there. but I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed being part of the team. Like I say, the reason I was 3 times interim was I was there at the time the head coach left. So, and it's awfully hard to take over at that time. I mean, the reason they're gone is because they're not winning games. And I just tried to get the team to play as hard as they could and have pride in themselves and so forth. But it's still probably the toughest job in football. It's not just taking over a team that hadn't won. It's taking over a team that's really not your team and having them finish the season.
Yeah, no question about it. And as we look at 1999, you were the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Of course, you make the playoffs, and Doug Flutie he was tremendous that year. But you go with Rob Johnson in the playoffs, which would have worked if not for the Music City Miracle. In hindsight, was Johnson over Phillps the right Johnson over Flutie the right decision? And was it a forward pass? Why check to Kevin Dyson?
Well, that's in the book too. Yeah,
got to read the book.
I think the chapter's titled "Music City Mistake." So
that says it all.
Yeah. No, Doug played great, and actually Rob played great in that game. Put us ahead with 16 seconds left in the game.
Yep.
So, and actually both of them had played well for us at different times, and usually one of them was hurt and the other one played and back and forth. But I think till the last year or so, we'd been the last team to be in the playoffs from Buffalo. So we had some pretty good teams there, and when I was a coordinator there, we won in the playoffs, and I don't think they've done that since. So had a pretty good run in Buffalo, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, 2004, you joined the San Diego Chargers as defensive coordinator with Marty Schottenheimer as head coach. We actually, here in Kansas City, we made a documentary film for Marty back in 2018 after hearing of his Alzheimer's diagnosis. We were actually able to present the film to him in person at his home in North Carolina. What can you tell us about your time against and then with, in our opinions, one of the greatest coaches in NFL history, Marty Schottenheimer?
Yeah, Marty won, 200 games, I think. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I feel like he should be in the Hall of Fame for certain. Yeah. I mean, he was a great leader. Marty was a great leader, and to do what we did in San Diego now, I mean, was pretty amazing. We had the first pick in the draft, which means you got the worst team in football the year before. So, and we went 12-4 and won the division, and I think Kansas City was in that division, as a matter of fact.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. But we had a pretty good quarterback at that time. We got rid of him, that Drew Brees guy. I don't know what happened to him, but he was pretty good. LT wasn't bad at running back. And Merriman was a holy terror when he came in too. I know. Against Oakland and Kansas City, he had some big plays. But we and then we went 9-7 the next year. Brees got hurt, and then we went 14-2, and Marty got fired. So I mean, which was, I mean, unheard of, I guess. And I don't know how that could happen, but it did. So I'd gone to Dallas as the head coach after that season. Then I see in the paper, because I didn't have any idea something like that was going to happen, and Marty gets fired at 14-2. So, but he did a great job wherever he was, and we gave him the game ball when he beat Kansas City in Kansas City, because they hadn't done that in a long, long time. So so that was fun being there with him, and I really enjoyed Marty and his leadership. I mean, he had great leadership skills.
Yeah, absolutely. It was tremendous being able to meet him here. Again, it was a couple summers ago, and we're just always hoping the best for Marty as he continues to deal with Alzheimer's. Coach, I got to ask you, because you're 3.5 years in Dallas. You win the division twice. You're the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. You're a native Texan. What your dad coaches for the Oilers? What was that like for you personally, being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys? And you win the division twice. Really could have went to the Super Bowl 2007. the Giants on their magical run where Eli all of a sudden turned into just a holy terror in the playoffs, and he would do it again in 2011. But what was it like for you, and as a native Texan, being able to coach the Cowboys for 3.5 seasons?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I'm from Texas, like you said, and I got to coach for the Oilers. I got to coach for the Cowboys, and I got to coach for the Texans. I'm sure I'm the only one that's ever done that. It's just family and stuff is closer there. But you pay a lot more for the tickets because they all want to come to every game. So I had 50 people. when we played in Houston and Dallas, and they all think the tickets are free, like college or something. But anyway, Dallas is high profile. I mean, the Cowboys have a lot of great fans, and I'm still, you don't give autographs as much anymore, but people remember me as much from the Cowboys as anywhere I've been. I've been with a whole bunch of teams, but I have a lot of people come up and say, "Hey, Cowboy coach, Wade Phillips, can I have a picture with you?" So, so it's, but it's my home state, and I'm proud of being there, and I'm in Houston right now.
What was your time like in Dallas? You've got some personalities there. You've got Jerry Jones. You've got T.O. when you're there, just dealing with those two back and forth. And then the greats, just Tony Romo, DeMarcus Ware, Jason Witten.
Yeah, I mean, some great guys. Fond memory, certainly. That 2007 team, I mean, you never know. But, I mean, we beat the Giants twice during the season. And then, Eli had a great game, and they barely beat us in Dallas and then win the Super Bowl. So, I've been with a lot of teams, and, I know how hard it is to get to the Super Bowl. and I've been with some that I, could have gotten there. That was probably one of them that could have gotten there for sure. And Jerry's a great family guy. His whole family's in the organization, so he treats you like what I'm saying. He treats you like family. I mean, he still sends us Christmas presents.
Wow.
I said, Jerry, I don't need a Christmas present anymore. But he keeps sending them. So but that's the kind of guy he is.
Well, I think Noah asked you about Jerry Jones right there, so that I was going to have to be the one to bring up the Broncos Super Bowl 50 victory that you guys had. Thanks for that, Noah. We're going to talk about the Broncos winning the Super Bowl in 2015. You are the NFL Assistant of the Year. The Broncos defense carries the day where Peyton Manning is hurt. Brock Osweiler's coming in for spot duty, and you guys absolutely just wreak terror on the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game, and then on Cam Newton, an MVP season for him and the Panthers. Just what was that like for you going back to Denver, winning your first Super Bowl? And we're still a little confused as to how it happened here in Kansas City, but we're going to give you the props for that one, Coach. Take us through it.
Yeah, I mean, that was an exceptional group. I mean, I was out of football for a year, and then luckily Elway and Kubiak got the job, and they hired me there, and we had a great group of guys. I really think one of the best defenses of all time. I mean, I think we led the league like 19 categories. I mean, it's crazy, how good they were. So. Our quarterback got hurt. I mean, then we played with Osweiler, and we also beat Roethlisberger in the playoffs too. I mean, so Brady we hit 24 times in the championship game, which was the most. Not Brady had been hit, but the most any quarterback had been hit in one game in like 10 years. I mean, but this was a fantastic group. That they had everything. We had the pass rush, we had the coverage. We led the league in run defense. 3.3 per rush, and obviously pass defense and total defense and everything, sack, everything else. I mean, it was, and then they played that way during the playoffs. And then, to beat Cam, and I mean, they were on a roll. Now the Panthers were on a roll when we played them. They scored like 40 points a game in the playoffs, each game, and he was the MVP. So, but our guys just came through. We had a great group, and I was lucky to be there with them.
Yeah, you had a great group there. You had a lot of great groups. Talk about some of those greats that you've been able to coach, whether it's Curly Culp, a guy we know well here in Kansas City, Reggie White, Bruce Smith, J.J. Watt, or Aaron Donald, just to name a few of them, Coach.
Yeah, that's just a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had those guys. Remember them? I think you remember them. So,
No.
Yeah.
My memory's foggy right now.
They were in your backfield. So
too often.
Yeah. Actually, I coached. Curly Culp and Elvin Bethea were with the Oilers when I coached with them.
Mm-hmm.
The guy named Robert Brazil, who also went into the Hall of Fame last year. So those three guys. I was coaching linebackers and coaching Brazil my first year, and then my second year I coached Culp and Bethea. So I coached three guys that were in the Hall of Fame when I was 27 years old. I thought I was a hell of a coach, man. Everything I asked them to do, they could do. And then I go to New Orleans, and they won one game in the last 2 years, and I found out all those guys couldn't play like those guys.
Well, you had Ricky Jackson.
Yeah, Ricky Jackson was great too. He was another one that was a tremendous player. So. Bruce Smith was in the best shape of any defensive player I've ever been around. Reggie White was just a fun guy to be around. Just
and
a
the hump
great
move,
person. Huh?
And the hump move that he had.
Yeah, but he didn't. Yeah, he wanted to run straight over him, and I told him, Reggie, you don't need to run straight over him because it's tougher to get there. So. I said, just take one side. He'd take one side, and when they try to stop him on that side, he'd just throw him out of the way. So, yeah, he made some great plays. And then lately, Coach J.J. Watt, what a player, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, and then Aaron Donald's 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. In the last 5 years, we had 57 wins, and so that's pretty good. And I've been in 2 Super Bowls, so that shows you what kind of players I've been around.
Well, not only that, and how many players that you've been able to impact as a coach. And we just can't thank you enough for doing this with us. And again, I want to take everyone back to the book. It's called Son of Bum. You can get it on Amazon right now. You can get the Kindle edition, the audiobook, the hardcover. There's even a CD version. And I go back to this because coaching is such a fraternity. It's something that, it impacts lives around you. It impacts your families. And to have had this story, you and your dad, I think it's one of the best stories in sports and in the NFL history to have you guys, and to see how long your career has been, over 40 years now, and what your dad did, Coach. It's truly incredible. So Vic Carucci helped write this book with you. It is tremendous, and I just hope everybody will go check it out, especially now when there's nothing else to do. Go read this book, right?
There you go. I like it. Yeah. And another great thing is my son's coaching, so
right.
In the NFL, so. Us and the Shulers are the only 3-generation coaching family, so that's pretty neat. So watch out for him. He's with the Rams right now, but Wes Phillips is going to hopefully be a head coach in this league sometime too.
Yeah, no question about it. What do you see this season? There's so much uncertainty. The NFL just said they want to try. They're getting the go-ahead for full, fans in the stands. I know it's not our call, but what do you think the NFL is going to look like? What's football going to look like this year?
Well, I don't know. I did see a photograph from the 1918
with the masks.
Georgia Tech. Yeah, everybody was wearing a mask. So I wouldn't be surprised that it's going to carry on the same way. At some time. So I think we're going to be with the mask for a good while. But hopefully they'll get back, and hopefully they'll start hiring more coaches. Because I'm available.
The Chiefs just hired Steve Spagnuolo, and it was a tremendous season that we were able to turn around defensively. And it's like, man, you've always been someone that's such a prominent figure from when your time in Denver, just our lives. We're 36 years old, so right around that time that we're coming up into football, you're there, and you've been there this whole time. It's like I've always wanted to get you here in Kansas City. Maybe one of these days it'll happen, but. It's not going to be the same. It's not the same NFL without you roaming the sidelines or in the press box. We really, I don't know. It's not going to be the same, man. We got to make something happen.
Well, it wasn't the same once my dad left the sideline either.
Well,
like I said, with the cowboy hat and cowboy boots, I wish I could wear those on the field again, but that's not going to happen. So.
Yeah, the NFLPA and their uniform. They have. I didn't realize this. They do have uniform gurus that go around and check to make sure everybody's shirt's tucked in right. I don't know. That's a little too much for me, but I don't think the cowboy hat would fly.
No.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for doing this. Again, the book is tremendous. It's called Son of Bum, and we want to direct everyone to that. You have no idea what this means to us to be able to go down this road with you and brave in the technology, and we're able to make it happen. Thank you so much for doing it, Coach.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks for keeping with it. We had a bad start, but we had a great finish, right?
Hey, that's right. That's
100%.
Just like the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Not a problem.
Yeah, just like the Broncos did too.
Oh man!
Hey, thanks so much, Coach. We'll catch up again soon.
It was an absolute honor. Take care.
Same here. Thanks. Bye.
Huge thanks to Coach Wade Phillips for joining us. Certainly hope that he finds himself onto an NFL sideline or into a press box, because as we were talking about it, as I was looking at it and thinking about it like that, Wade Phillips has been around this game for so long, over 40 years. I mean, he's been coaching for over 50. And the fact that he's been on a sideline in a press box coaching in this game for the totality of my NFL fandom. And it's people like Coach Phillips that have helped formulate my love for this game. They've added so much to the history of it. Just the relationship between he and his father, Bum Phillips, and the book is tremendous, guys. Check it out. Son of Bum. You can get it on Amazon right now. It's just a real honor to be able to do that, because he's been a part of our football lives, which started in the late 80s, around 89 for me. He's been around this whole time. So to think of him not being in coaching just would not be the same going in here to 2020.
Yeah, and everyone has their defensive coordinator, right? But there's defensive specialists and analysts and that can be up in the booth, and they're not necessarily calling the plays or anything, but they're just giving their insight. And if you want anyone's insight in this game, especially on the defensive side of the ball, it's Wade Phillips. So the fact that he's not with someone as a special defensive analyst or assistant just doesn't really make sense to me, why you wouldn't want that up in the booth helping you out. And maybe he sees something that you don't see when you're on the field. It just makes complete sense that you would have him as a part of your staff. So maybe he catches on somewhere. Maybe someone hears this interview or just thinks about it and says, we got to get Wade a part of the staff in some way, shape, or form. So we hope that for him, because it sounds like he is just a lifelong coach. That's what he has done. That's been his life up to this point. He wants to continue it, and he still feels like he has a lot to offer. And of course he does. What he's able to do with the Rams just recently shows you that he still has it, and what he's able to do with that defense. Just going back, just throughout his career, we talk about the book and Bum Phillips and the great things he had to say about Marty Schottenheimer, and just the joking back and forth is maybe the thing I love the most about the Chiefs and Broncos, and saying now in 2015 he thinks they won the AFC West, and I didn't mention Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware when talking about the great players he's coached because I didn't want to name them all. There's been too many, but he noticed that I left those out. So a little bit of rivalry there, but it was fun. I love it, and I love having these legends on in the game. Can't thank them enough. Like you said, it was a huge honor.
It was. If you guys check out the video of this on GSNsports.com, you can see, and this had to be on purpose. He knows he's coming on with a couple Kansas City guys. He's wearing his Broncos Super Bowl hat. That was his first Super Bowl and only Super Bowl championship as a coach. And so that's got to mean a lot to him. And that defense was an integral part in making it happen. You heard in the interview talking about getting there with Peyton Manning injured and Brock Osweiler coming in spot duty, Manning coming back for the end of the season and the playoff run. It was a very strange season, and always kind of blew my mind that the Broncos were able to win that Super Bowl. But he's also, so positive when he talks about Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid. He said he texted Andy Reid after that Super Bowl 54 here just a few months ago. So you can't do anything but give respect. And I'll tell you what, Noah, in the words of Michael Jackson, before the This Is It tour was to take place, before he passed away, Michael Jackson said, "You ain't seen nothing yet." And nothing could ring more true than us here on the Elite Sports Podcast, because as we mentioned before, some giant interviews coming up. We've got our good friend Joe Theismann coming up in a couple of weeks. Next week, this is going to be a special one. Former Chiefs head coach Dick Vermeil and former Chiefs general manager Carl Peterson are both going to be joining us, and I cannot wait for that. It's going to be just absolutely mind-blowing. to be able to talk with both of those personalities, and they both have such distinguished personalities and very distinct. And we know about Carl Peterson's run, 20 years in Kansas City. Dick Vermeil comes in 2001 and coaches here for 6 seasons before retiring in 2005. So Noah, we got some big stuff coming up. Can you even fathom it? Like, what are you looking forward to most here in the coming weeks?
Oh man, there's so much. Yeah, I really can't fathom it. The fact that we just interviewed Wade Phillips, and now we're going to move on, and we've got Joe Theismann and Carl Peterson and Dick Vermeil. I think maybe Carl Peterson, because he brought winning football back to Kansas City there in 1989. In the previous 18 years, only one playoff appearance. So the fact that he brought the winningest team of the 90s, Marty Schottenheimer drafted Derek Thomas, so really kicked things off to a good start there in 1989. And just to be able to just go through all the stories and everything throughout the 90s that was really my foundation of football and becoming a sports fan is just going to be something that I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do.
Well, if you like what we're doing, certainly hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify. Any way you choose to take in your podcast, we have got you covered. Our website, again, gasnsports.com. That's where all of our content is located, our articles, interviews, podcasts, much, much more, all available over at gasnsports.com. I'll tell you what, guys, we are off and running into the summer months here, and your money stays and plays with us because we are keeping the interviews coming, keeping the positivity flowing. Good vibes, man. That's what we're all about here as we head towards hopefully some semblance of normalcy as we get ever so close to the start of football season, and we certainly hope it comes sooner rather than later. The Elite Sports Podcast, once again, your money stays and plays right here